All right, guys. So I caught this absolutely unbelievable segment on The View in which Joy Behar essentially calls for Governor Ron DeSantis to be held criminally liable for his pro-freedom policies in regards to handling the COVID-19 pandemic in his state, and suggests that he is guilty of negligent homicide, right, for the COVID-19 deaths in his state.
Well, he's putting his political ambitions ahead of the safety of children. It's as simple as that, really.
It is. Yeah.
And the way I see it, he should be criminally liable for that.
Yeah,
you are actually committing negligent homicide when people die on your watch.
Well, normally...
All right, guys, so you heard that, right? You heard Joy Behar, right? The objective voice in politics tell us that Ron DeSantis, because of his pro-freedom stance when it comes to handling this COVID-19 pandemic, you know, being for individual liberties, for people making their own choices, Miss Joy Behar, again, who's an objective political commentator here, guys, is saying that he should be held criminally liable, right? He's guilty of negligent homicide for the deaths in his state. So you would think that because Miss Joy Behar here is not a partisan political actor, she's actually a objective political analyst, you would think that she would say the exact same thing about dictator or former dictator, dethroned dictator, Andrew Cuomo in regards to his nursing home scandal.
So, Senator, just a few minutes ago, you said, and correctly, the country is suffering. There are many people out of work, but you would like to open safely, follow the science, protect small business, and all of that. But Republican Florida Governor DeSantis, for example, recently lifted all coronavirus restrictions on businesses, allowing bars and restaurants to open at full capacity without a mask mandate. He said they won't be closing anything going forward. Now, what's your response to Governor DeSantis's policy, one, and would you do the same thing in Texas if you could?
So, yes, we should reopen, and I actually think if you look at Florida, if you look at Texas, the death rates have been much, much lower there than, for example, states like New York, New Jersey, states with Democratic governors where the death rates have been enormously through the roof. New York, in particular, has led the country in death rate, and I think it had a lot to do with the Democratic governor there, Governor Cuomo, sending people who had COVID into nursing homes. Well, the death rate is 3 times as high as the death rate in Texas or Florida. I'm sorry?
I'm talking about Florida right now, not New York. New York got hit very early, and a lot of people were coming in without any kind of sanctions on it.
But the government policy was different, and the policy made a difference. The government policy was different, and the policy made a difference. The policy of the governors of New York and New Jersey of sending people who were COVID positive into nursing homes was catastrophic, and it resulted in a horrific death rate. No, I'm saying we should actually listen to sound science and protect people and keep them safe.
All right, guys, so that was a year ago, like legitimately a year ago, all right? In which, when confronted by Ted Cruz about the fact that Andrew Cuomo, in his poorly written health policy directive towards nursing homes in regards to COVID-19 patients, she says, oh, well, we didn't know anything at the time, and that there was a lot of people coming into New York and blah, 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 this, that, and the other. She's making excuses. She makes excuses, okay? And to my knowledge, she has not come out and reversed her stance on Cuomo to say, hey, you know what? Cuomo should be held criminally liable, right? Back then, she made excuses for Cuomo. When it was clear, if you actually read the directive, in the nursing homes interpreted the same way everybody else interpreted it, they was like, well, we have to accept COVID-19 patients. And also on top of that, a part of that directive also was that they were prohibited from actually testing the elderly, the patients, before they came into the nursing home, right? As long as they were medically stable, then they had to take them in. That was Cuomo's directive. And you want to talk about negligent homicide? Come on now. Ron DeSantis, if you guys remember when he was doing his vaccine rollout, he was like, we're going to try to prioritize elderly people, right? So he literally had the opposite stance of Cuomo in regards to protecting the elderly, right? The opposite stance. So when it comes to Cuomo, that, again, there's a good argument to be made, resulted in tens of thousands of elderly patients losing their lives, right? Grandma and grandpa losing their lives unnecessarily. Unnecessarily. Not only that, when there was an investigation from the Department of Justice, and when they asked for the information and the data, Cuomo tried to cover it up. They refused to report it. And then when they did report it, it was inaccurate. According to the state attorney general, he was off by more than 50%. 50%. Because of the poorly written directive, this happened. Nursing homes interpreted it in a way that they say was the wrong way to interpret it, but they interpreted it in a way that basically led to this. He didn't apologize for it. He didn't say, oh, I made a mistake. I'm so sorry, blah, blah, blah. No. He doubled down on that he made the right decision, and then he turned around and covered it up. Well, why did he cover it up? Well, he went out and said basically, hey, we don't really want to cooperate with the Department of Justice because we don't want to make Trump look good, right? That was one of the reasons. The second reason, which I believe is a reason, is because he had a book coming out, right? He had a book deal about how to handle the pandemic. How great he was as a governor at handling the pandemic. So he knew that if this information came out, that his state had excessive nursing home deaths, right, because of a poorly written directive from him, right, from his office, he knows that that's not going to look good for book sales, right? That's not going to look good for my pocketbook. So Governor Cuomo not only put his political ambitions ahead of the lives of people and justice, right? He also put his financial ambitions ahead of the lives of people, right? For a directive that we can argue led to unnecessary deaths. But you don't see Joy Behar out here saying Cuomo should be arrested, right? She's not saying that Cuomo should be held criminally liable. Why is that, guys? Because Ron DeSantis, you may or may not like his policies, but at the end of the day, he has a pro-freedom stance. Whatever results from his pro-freedom stance, well, it's because people made a choice, right? People made a choice about what they want to do with their lives, what they want to do with their health. That's not what happened with Cuomo. These nursing homes felt like they didn't have a choice. They packed COVID-infected grandma and grandpa into nursing homes like sardines because of his mandate. We can argue that people's lives were lost. You can't say that because of DeSantis, because he has a pro-freedom stance. And whatever people decide to do with their freedom, that's on them. If they want to go out to eat, that's on them. If they want to go on a cruise, that's on them. If they want to participate in regular society, that's on them. Okay? That's on them. And guys, this is a conversation that a lot of people don't want to have, but I'm going to have it. Guys, freedom has consequences, right? This is what Democrats don't understand. When you have a pro-freedom stance, yes, I recognize that allowing people, for example, to have guns, right, or to be pro-2A, I understand that that's going to come with negative externalities, right? That's going to come with the negative externalities of, increase, people shooting themselves, more gun violence. Yes, it's going to happen, right? That's just common sense, okay? There are some people that are going to be reckless with that right. But I would much rather deal with the negative side effects of that than to go with the alternative, which is to take away guns from everybody and just the government, the federal government, they're the only ones with the guns, right? See, and that's what people don't understand. I think conservatives got to start making this argument. Look, we understand the negative externalities of freedom, but we're willing to accept it for the sake of freedom, right? We're not going to sit here and act like there's no downsides. Of course there's downsides. But that's okay because that's what freedom is about, right? And see, that's what Democrats don't understand. Their definition of freedom is freedom that is granted to them from the government. It's what the government says you can and can't do. But I don't believe I get my freedom from government. I get my freedom from God, okay? But see, people like Joy Behar and a lot of people on the left think that the Democrat Party and the government is God. That's what they think. And the problem with that is that the government is not always right. Most of the time, they're wrong. Just like in the situation with Andrew Cuomo. And that's the problem with people like Joe Behar, who call for more mandates and who go after people like Ron DeSantis for saying, look, I have a pro-freedom stance. They don't value their own freedom outside of what the government grants them. That's the difference. But like I said, you know, these type of takes from Joy Behar and people on The View, it shows who they are. They're partisan political actors. That's all they are, right? Because if she come out here and she said, well, you know, Cuomo should be arrested too, I can disagree with her in regards to her blaming DeSantis, but I can't say she's not consistent in regards to saying, well, you know, governors should be held liable for COVID-19 deaths in their state. And that Andrew Cuomo and Ron DeSantis are basically two peas in a pod. Now, I can disagree with that part of it, but at least I can say, well, she's consistent in terms of holding governors accountable. She just thinks that regardless, governors are responsible for deaths in their state. Right? I wouldn't even be able to criticize her. Even if I disagree with the difference between how Ron DeSantis handled this virus and Andrew Cuomo in regards to how we place blame and responsibility, right? I think there's a difference between Cuomo negligently packing sick elderly people in a nursing home and Ron DeSantis saying, hey, listen, guys, look, if you want the vaccine, get the vaccine, right? If you want to mask up, mask up. However, we're not forcing you to do those things, right? It comes down to you in terms of how you want to protect yourself, your family, your kids, right? And you do you, right? Take measures to protect yourself. Ron DeSantis has encouraged people to get vaccinated. He's went out there and said all the things that the liberal media wants him to say. What he has not done is implement the mandates that the liberal media wants. And because he has not implemented the mandates, you know, it doesn't matter if he's pro-vax, right? It doesn't matter if he is pro-freedom or anything like that. None of that matters. Only thing that matters to them is, well, he's not doing what we want and he's a Republican, so therefore, you know, he should be held criminally liable and is guilty of negligent homicide, according to Joy Behar. But like I said, these people are political actors because she's not holding Cuomo to that same standard, in which I will argue Cuomo is definitely a lot worse. I mean, yeah, Cuomo should definitely be investigated. He has been investigated, actually, for that, right? And he should be held criminally liable because what he did was reckless, right? Ron DeSantis is not acting with that much recklessness. Not like Cuomo, right? Ron DeSantis is not making nursing homes pack sick, elderly people into tight spaces like sardines. He's not doing that like Cuomo did. And then try to cover it up and obstruct justice while he makes millions of dollars from a book deal about how great he handled the pandemic. Ron DeSantis didn't do that. Ron DeSantis just said, hey, I'm pro-freedom. Those are two different things, right? They're two different things. So let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.